got nothing for the Christian right anymore. Like that's why I always when I talk to people like in my life, my family, they're super religious. I go, yeah, I don't have a problem with a lot of the base stuff that you guys follow. I have a problem with organized religion because it almost always goes badly and becomes exclusionary and terrible, and that's why I don't attend church or gather with people because so far I've never met a group of people that like are chill and undogmatic and like are willing to like talk about different ideas.
Are we going to do the intro, then let you repeat that, or is that just going to be our intro?
Oh shit, should we do? I forgot. Dude, I'm so out of sorts. Welcome to those Muckrakers. Are we on episode 57?
I don't know. Yes, we are.
Yeah, for episode 57, we're out of sorts. We're the Shouty Radio people. We are the sword in the darkness. We are, at one point we wanted
the Soros paid in the darkness.
Yeah. At one point we wanted to be the left-wing Alex Jones, but we realized we didn't have the energy for that. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about religious people because we're both, I'd say we both. I dabble in Pokemon Go. You sir are full-on a Pokemon Go aficionado.
I just like how, I just love the pivot from, we were talking about Christianity because Pokemon.
Well, I mean, it ties together. We were talking about earlier, a lot of the spawn points are churches, and you said, like, you guys have been out there playing Pokemon, and, like, the priest or the preacher comes out and goes, "Go away!"
Yeah, so there's... I live in a southern town, a very, very southeast town. So most of the gyms out here are churches because we don't have a whole lot of land that's not a church out here in this town.
Or just land that people are growing crops on.
Right. So it's either a cornfield or a church, and a church is easier to convince Niantic to turn into a gym, so they all became gyms. And some of these churches, the people are chill with us, like coming up and doing our flash mobs, but then others are like, "Get out of here! We're trying to pray!" And yeah, we were just discussing how that's so weird that they're not really behaving like Christians, telling people to fuck off like that.
Well, like I said, if you remember...
Remember Jesus' Sermon on the Mount about how, hey, could y'all go across the street, and if you're going to be here, I'm praying.
And Jesus said unto the multitude, "Wilt thou leave me alone? I don't like thee." And it was so. Like, yeah, come on, man. Also, I thought the church was experiencing a massive problem with people not going. And so, I don't know, man. If I was just an old preacher and
There's also like a range of the links the churches are willing to go through, because some of them found out more about Pokemon Go. They learned enough to be able to complain directly to Niantic, and they had the gyms removed from their church, which is bullshit. Because I had like gold badges at some of those, and then it just poof gone.
That's insane, man. Like your religion is dying, and people. If I was an old preacher or an old priest, I'd be so excited to be like, "It's only Thursday, and people are here." Huh? Yeah. We get out the finger sandwiches.
Yeah, 30 people suddenly show up at your church. You go outside with the scripture and you try to, maybe sway some of them. Maybe it doesn't reach any of them. Maybe in 10 years, one of them will say, "I remember that lecture. That really spoke to me. Maybe I'll go back and that'll be my new church now." I don't know.
Maybe
we're
nice.
saying this from the point of view of someone that truly and deeply believes Christian dogma. If you believe that the Bible is literally the Word of God, exactly as Christianity says, then you should be going out of your way to try and sway as many people to believe the truth as possible, because they believe that if you don't believe this, you're going to hell, right? They should be trying to save us from hell, not telling us to go across the street.
And lo, Jesus said, "If thou would go to the Sidco across the street, that would be beneficial." Amen. My whole thing is if there is an afterlife and there is a hell, and we do indeed go there, it won't be as bad for me, I think, at first, because I'm going to take a lap around hell, and I'm just be pointing at all the people that thought they had an assured ticket to heaven, and I'm just going to laugh. I'm going to be like, what's the bully's name from The Simpsons who goes,
Nelson.
Yeah. I'm gonna be like Nelson remember in the Simpsons movie where he ran his voice ran out because he laughed so much, and he was like, that's gonna be me in hell, just going around and be like, "Hey, remember when you kicked people out of your church? Well, we're in hell now."
Well, I mean, in the Greek religion, that basically is what the afterlife is. Everyone goes to Hades across the river Styx, and you can just walk around through the rocky fog and just talk to people. Hey, I remember you in history class.
You were my teacher. You steered me wrong, you bastard.
You didn't tell me that this was right. Why didn't you have a lecture on Hercules? The 12 labors could have saved my soul. Actually, there is no saving your soul in Greek Orthodox. You just go to Hades. That's it. It's Tartarus that you want to stay out of because that's closer.
I guess it's a more equitable hell, right?
You go across Styx. Yes, kind of, but there is like a really bad one too, Tartarus. That's the one that's guarded by Cerberus, and you just burn and scream forever. But it's kind of hard to end up there. That's more like where gods throw other gods.
Well, I was thinking of just like, so everyone goes to hell. So how nice a person you are is actually what makes your life better. Because we all go to Hades. That would mean that if you were just a douche your whole life, all the people you were a douche to are just going to be there with you, and they're going to kick your ass.
Remember the time you threw a rock through my window? Well, there's a lot of rocks around here, but I don't see no windows. Just your big dumb face.
That's what I mean, at least if I've learned anything from Hercules, The Legendary Journeys of Kevin Sorbo, it's that if you killed a lot of people and then you go to hell, they're all going to be there waiting to kick your ass.
Did that happen in... Oh, man, it's been so long since I've seen that series.
Yeah, all the people...
miss it. And my favorite character was always Zeus, who disappeared after Hercules' family got killed.
Well,
that's the only thing I remember from it still, is that his family got... Oh, spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen the Kevin Sorbo Hercules.
Or spoilers for anyone that hasn't read your Greek mythology. Zeus is an absentee father.
Yeah, so... but, like, Zeus would say things that would piss me off. Like, Aeolus, I think was his name, asked him, why mosquitoes? And he's like, because the birds like to eat them. You see, there's always a point to everything. I'm like, motherfucker, birds eat birdseed too, and birdseed don't bite me. So I think we're good with wiping out mosquitoes, okay?
Well, if you remember from our last podcast, insects are disappearing at a very rapid rate.
Good, fuck them.
So eventually, there is some good news at this end of the world, that bugs are disappearing.
Yeah, like this is like the best version of the apocalypse. We don't get zombies, but we do have a lack of mosquitoes.
Well, I mean, that would also mean a lack of everything else that eats bugs, which would mean we all die.
Well, whatever. You know, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Can't get rid of mosquitoes without wiping out humanity.
I felt really bad that we're not up to it yet. In my history class the other day, we got off on a side conversation about how long you'd survive in a nuclear winter.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like stockpiling food and oxygen and stuff, and how much food you need per day, and how much you could possibly stockpile, and like, you know, estimate how long you were going to live. And I go, man, when we get to the Cold War, we're going to do this lesson.
Nice. You know, speaking of supplies for whenever you need to stay alive, I saw something amazing from the current president the other day, how he's manipulating his followers into believing that he's actually doing something. Because, you know, during his State of the Union, his most recent State of the Union, Trump said that he's going to finally do something about the pharmaceutical prices, high prices on pills, and he gave like a Rose Garden speech a year ago saying the same thing. And finally at one of his rallies, he did that old switcheroo where he tries to make people think that it's already done, like he's already done something. Well, he hasn't. It's at record high prices. That's the reality of the situation. But his followers don't believe things like facts. They believe him. And he says, you know what, just the other day, the pharmaceutical companies, they raised their prices so high, so high. So I called them up and said, hey, what are you doing? I see that. And they're like, oh, I'm very sorry, sir. We'll lower them right now, okay? And he's like, all right, then... And then all the pharmaceutical prices for their pills went right back to what they had been being. You're all welcome. I did it, folks. I saved you all.
Well,
and they're all
the
cheering.
Fascinating thing was...
Now I know what you're thinking. You're exaggerating. He didn't say that. No, he said that. He said that the prices they spiked super high, and he talked them into going right back to what they were. So by the prices not changing at all, he saved the day. Da 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 da.
Well, the thing is, everyone loves a good story with an easy beginning, middle, and end, and if someone you believe is like, so I've gotten super suspicious with the spreading of like, you know, fake news and stuff like that. It's like I check everything, and I got really mad the other day because somebody put up a article that said Hillary Clinton has decided to run for president.
Yeah, she actually has. I mean, she hasn't said no, but she's not even listed in like the possible running candidates right now.
Well, somebody posted this, and I was like, son of a bitch. And then I go, wait, let me double check this. I can't just trust one news source. And it turns out it was an article from 2016.
Ah, okay.
And I was like, you're a dick. Even if you're doing this as a joke, you're an asshole. Like, so fucking annoying. It's the same way.
From my point of view, now that I know the beginning, middle, and end this quickly, it is kind of funny.
Yeah, see, exactly. It's the way. So instead of saying that we need to come up with single-payer healthcare option, it's much easier to go, I called the pharmaceutical companies, and they said they're going to lower prices. Ba-bam. Speaking of stories, did you hear the thing about the Momo challenge?
I saw you text about it. I don't know what that is, though.
All right, so it was this viral hoax going around. There's this creepy Japanese statue. If you haven't seen pictures, look it up.
I already like this story.
Creepy as fuck. Anyway, the story went that
What's the statue of? Just a person?
This weird, almost bird-faced, terrifying-looking woman.
Oh, so it's like a Tengu.
Kinda. Might actually be a Tengu. I don't know what that is, but I'll just say yes.
It's a bird person. With a long beak like a apothecary mask.
Yeah, almost, yes. I guess maybe that's what it is. Anyway, so basically they've been putting this thing in, they're splicing it in the middle of like children's YouTube channels, and It comes on and says like, it tells kids how to commit suicide and turn on the stove and all this stuff, and it says if you don't do it, the Momo will come kill you, and nobody will believe that this is here.
Yeah, I actually saw some really bad stuff going on YouTube in the last week, where stuff even worse than that was being like fed into children's channels, and they would they like mess with the YouTube algorithm, so like really bad videos would be suggested to children.
But this was actually in the video. Anyway, it turns out this was a viral hoax.
YouTube did like a mass banning to try to get rid of that stuff, and they actually banned a whole bunch of people who had nothing to do with it. So that's interesting, but that's like a whole mess.
Yeah, this turned out it wasn't true. It wasn't real. People were freaking out about it.
So you're saying that this particular thing was not part of that? That never happened? There was no Momo challenge?
No.
Okay.
There were no reports of it. Anyway, the reason I saw this and it was popping up and I knew it wasn't true is because whose news feed was, or in my Facebook feed, who was it popping up from? But my most gullible right-wing Facebook friends that post, Pizzagate stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So immediately I went, well, these are the only people that are posting it. Clearly this must not be true. But then I looked up, then the Atlantic came out with an article on it. It's freaking people out because it's a real good horror story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This horrible, creepy thing that creeps into your house and targets your children, and you're powerless to do anything about it because it's a splice in the middle of a children's programming. How devious.
Yeah.
Although the thing was, and I guess maybe it could hurt suggestible children, but I do remember being a child, and if the TV came on, and then in the middle of like the Andy Griffith show, a monster came on and goes, "Kill yourself, or I'll come kill you," I'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Well, golly!
Yeah.
That's more like Mickey Mouse than
I think we underestimate.
Guy,
I think we underestimate children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that too.
There's always like that one in like 2 million kids, like when the Power Rangers were big, like the kids that were like, "We're Power Rangers too," and then like they would martial arts kick another kid to death,
Yeah. Kids. I was about to say kids are basically as smart as adults. They haven't done as much stuff. But really, it's more like adults are as dumb as children. So all these people you see driving around out there in their motor vehicles, they're just as likely to kill their whole family if they saw the Momo challenge as any child.
And then there were those 2 girls that killed the other girl because of Slender Man. So like, you have instances, but those 2 girls
they were crazy anyway.
They would have killed her to meet Ronald McDonald. Like, it didn't take much, which is that goes to the whole thing with video games cause violent actions. It goes, no, violent people
commit violent actions. There have been studies that show that video games reduce violence in people because it gives people who would have been violent otherwise an outlet for their rage, right? They can go kill virtual people and calm down.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on Grand Theft Auto and I'm just like, make me work on a Thursday. I'll show you.
Yeah, I remember when I was, I think it was 15, and I was super angry at high school all the time. I'd come home and play Soldier of Fortune, which was a super gory game.
Dude, how did that game slip by everybody? That was you could shoot people's limbs off in that game? Like, God.
Yeah, I know. I only had the demo of it, so I would just play the first stage over and over again. But yeah, like, it was fantastic. It was a great way to just sort of de-stress at the end of the day.
But also, we knew the difference between reality from an early age. I remember knowing the difference between reality and fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's just sort of a given a lot of the times, and a lot of people don't realize that that is something that kids can tell the difference between. Kids don't just assume that because Super Mario can jump 16 feet in the air that they can as well. He's jumped on the turtle, so I jumped on the turtle, and it didn't pop out of its shell. I thought something funny would happen. No, they know not to hurt a turtle.
I think the only thing that we all believed, because physics-wise, it's theoretically possible. I think the one thing we all believed was that you could jump off a roof with an umbrella like Mary Poppins.
I know some people believe that you can shoot the side of a plane to depressurize it, and everyone would get blown out.
Did anybody do that?
No, but I'm just saying that's something you see in movies all the time. So some people think it's possible
because
it seems like something. Oh, another thing. Speaking of guns, people think that cars are shields, for instance, and you can hide behind them in a shootout and not get hit. No, the bullet goes straight through and through you.
Yeah, if you've ever seen how thin a car door is, it's pretty. It's not a good place to hide.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things you see on TV a lot, and you start to think that it might be true, but that's just because. That's stuff that you just don't know. That's not a situation you've ever seen anyone in real life, so you have no idea.
So speaking of, I don't have a segue for this. So we were talking about Trump earlier, as we often do, and I finally saw him today kind of look like defeated, like I'm in over my head and I fucked up.
Oh, he looked miserable this week. It was so fantastic.
He went to go meet Kim Jong Un and came away with dick all. I think he finally realized.
At another one of his rallies, he was like, "And let me tell you, folks, we're in love. We're in love. He writes me the nicest letters." Now, I know what you're thinking, Peter. You're making that up. He literally said that he and Kim Jong Un are in love and that he gets written the nicest letters. Anyway.
But I feel like at least at the summit, so like. I think he came back with nothing and looks like an asshole, and I think it seems like he looks like he knows that he looks like an asshole, and he didn't get anything, and they played him.
And also the jig is up because the whole time he's over there trying to do... Like, people need to understand, he doesn't actually think that anything's going to get done. He thinks that he remembers the first time he went to see Kim Jong Un, that it was a huge deal on the media, that everyone ate it up, that he got all the attention, and that he came away looking good for like a week or two until Kim Jong Un backstabbed him and didn't do any of the stuff he promised to do. Yeah. But by that point, his followers weren't paying attention anymore, so they assumed that Trump had heroically saved us from World War III. Getting back to today, he thinks that he could have a repeat of that and look good again. But what happened? None of the news stations were really covering his trip to Vietnam to see Kim Jong-un.
Because Delicious...
all the cameras was on something else.
Was on Delicious Michael Cohen.
Yeah,
Wait, it's Michael, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen was... Yeah, go ahead.
He testified in Congress. Did you watch the whole thing? I started watching a lot of it, and I was like...
God, no. I have like forums that I go to, and they link me to the most interesting bits.
Yeah, I'm a bad reporter. I did, however, so he goes on, and so look, here's my whole thing about it. The analysis of it, and I agree with it. There were no bombshells dropped. He didn't tell us anything we didn't already know. But what I do like,
but he is saying a lot of stuff that we like the public knew, the people who had really been paying attention knew. But now he's stating all this stuff for congressional record, which is a big difference. One new crime was brought up, and also he implemented Trump Jr. in enough stuff. And this is my favorite part, but I'll save it for later. He implemented someone else who's now going to have to testify.
Well, my favorite thing was not only he bring up Trump Jr. who's going to have to go testify, but he brought up this guy.
And Kushner.
This is how I know that
testify.
This is how I know that we're either living in the Matrix and it's broken, or we're living in the darkest timeline. Because he implemented another guy who doesn't sound like a real person, whose name is, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up, Matthew Calamari.
Yep.
All the articles go, if you wrote this in a mob movie, people would be like, that's too on the nose. You got to change that name.
Yep. And do you know who he implemented that person to?
Who?
The notorious AOC.
Yeah,
she asked a question about, do you know stuff about Trump's crimes? And he's like, yes. Who else knows this stuff? And the Calamari was one of the people that he brought up.
What a fake fucking Italian name. It'd be like, yo, hey, my name is Joe Rigatoni. And he's exactly like you think he would be. He is a caricature of a human being. I think
Yep.
something happened to the Matrix we're living in, and like the graphics have gone down because the Matrix is like, I have to spawn a new NPC, Matthew Calamari, and I'm like, that's not convincing.
It had to. The Matrix very quickly had to like reference the 1930s, like those old detective stories, and that was just the first one that it could pull out, like the super racist against Italian detective stories.
He had to go down and he had to see a mobster named Matthew Calamari, a known crime associate of Joe Angel Hair Pasta. Like, get
Yep.
the fuck out of here. This is such fucking ridiculousness. When they teach this as history in like 100 years, it's just going to be like, his name was fucking Joe Calamari?
Yep.
Like, was he named after the McDonald's franchise? Like the Hamburglar and the Grimace?
I mean, I keep thinking of that one boss from Cuphead, Calamaria. That's the first thing I called him earlier.
That's
It's a mermaid that has she gets bit by eels and then turns you to stone. It's weird, but never mind.
fucking Matthew Calamari and Scaramucci and who the fuck is next?
Hey, Scaramucci, sucking my own dick over here.
Hey, what am I, Matthew Calamari? I'm over here sucking my own pasta? Sucking my own breadstick?
Yeah. So,
We live in a circus.
speaking of self-flagellation,
You're sucking your own garlic knots. What's up?
have you seen Bernie Sanders this week? He's been on fire. Now, in past podcasts, I have told you that Bernie does strike me as every bit of a con artist as Trump. But I actually am starting to walk that back in my head a bit, just because a lot of the tells, like what I look for when it comes to tells to see if someone's legitimate or just a con artist, is whenever they're asked questions, do they go into a pre-scripted dialogue in their head, or do they give a legitimate answer? And I saw Bernie do interviews in 2016, and even if the question had nothing to do with the answer he gave, he would go into one of his scripted answers, right?
Right.
I'm now willing to write that off as him being inexperienced and having to stick to the script, because I've been watching a lot more interviews with him this time around, and he seems like a legitimate person now. He seems relaxed. He's able to give organic answers. Sometimes he gives answers that are just off the cuff, that are almost like a Trump answer except correct, because he's not afraid to just say, oh yeah, that's fucked up.
Well, if anybody, that would be great if he was like, you know what? That's fucked up. I'm not gonna stand for it. Let's step outside. Me and you and me.
Put him up.
I'm gonna punch you in the dick. Like I would love angry Bernie Sanders. No, I think he'd be a good president. I think that
I've been certain that he would be a much better president than Trump. You got to understand.
Well, you can't. That'd be like being like, you know, who would be a better president than a dead frog? This guy. Like that can't be the metric. We
Right,
can't
like-
vote. We can't vote on like, well, he's better than Trump. I mean, like that's how you get like a President Chris Christie. You know what I mean?
Oh, of all the Republicans, Chris Christie would have been my favorite to actually see become president, by the way.
I gotta say, speaking of fucking washed up Republicans, I got a new gripe against fucking Giuliani.
Giuliani? What he
Yeah.
did?
I was reading an article about him being mayor of New York, and apparently he drove out all the fucking nightlife.
Really?
Yeah, he started to so in New York we have this thing called a cabaret law, which means if more than 3 people are dancing, you have to have a license or they'll fine you.
What?
Yeah. So he pulled that out from the 1800s and just started going around to shut down these clubs.
Holy
and then
shit.
and so then like if people were just swaying to the music, they'd be like, "That's a violation! Shut it down, boys!" And basically
Why?
he just like fucking created a task force to fuck up the nightlife in New York City.
Why
I'm
would
like,
he want to do that?
Because then rich people with condos that live next to bars and clubs get mad because they're like, it's really loud. Why are you living in a condo next to a club, you idiot?
I don't know.
Yeah, fucking ruin a good time. That's why all the bars now are filled with people with handlebar mustaches just all sitting around drinking PBR.
Yeah.
Thanks, Giuliani. That's the America that Giuliani wants.
So speaking of people we haven't spoken about in a while, but they're very relevant to this case, did you hear who else got implemented and now has to talk before the House Judiciary Committee?
No, who?
Good old Lumpy.
Really? Lumpy's got to go? Oh, God, yes. God, yes.
They've so Sean Hannity said this to Donald Trump about Cohen just the other night during an interview. I can tell you personally, he said to me at least a dozen times that he made the decision on the payments and he didn't tell you. As in, that's the quote from Hannity, right? Remember
Yeah.
how Michael Cohen only had 3 candidates, Trump, some other criminal, and also Lumpy? And those were
Yeah.
his only clients? I mean,
Look,
not
I only
candidates,
represent
clients.
Trump, Sean Hannity, and Pontius Pilate. Okay.
Well, the Democratic Congressman David Cicilline, I don't know how to say that. He tweeted, Sean Hannity is now volunteering himself as a witness. I look forward to his testimony.
Well, it's gonna be a
Because
fucking
he
spectacle.
talked about stuff that Cohen said to him that he didn't say to Trump. That means Hannity has information in this case. And he just outed himself as being at least, at the very least, a material witness. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. He can't lie before Congress the way he lies on Fox News,
Right.
or he will perjure himself and he will be imprisoned. He does not have, he's not Trump and he's not Trump's immediate children. He doesn't have protection. He could be going to jail if he does not tell the whole truth. And if he does tell the whole truth, that can just be played on a loop on CNN or something to out him
Well-
as someone who's not legitimate on Fox News.
The way they could have held this all together is if the president would just start pardoning people, it would be fine. But he can't. But instead of pardoning people or standing by them, as soon as they're in trouble, he just dumps on them, which to me is really
just
weird.
a copy boy. I never even heard of him. Who even names their son Trump Jr.? He's not my son.
Who really Matthew Calamari is not even a real name. Sounds
That's
like
another one of his lawyers, by the way, if anyone's curious.
Sounds like you got it. What, Matthew Calamari?
Isn't he?
No, he was just his bodyguard, then his head of security. He's like a big hulking, gangster-looking guy with a Jersey douchebag with a mustache.
Because I know another one of his lawyers is getting arrested. Hold on. Do I have notes on this?
Yeah, nobody's arrested. Oh, so while you're looking at notes, so they tried to come from a girl, AOC, and they done fucked up, son.
Oh, yeah?
Ivanka.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
Oh, God,
Continue.
I've never in my life quite wanted to have the Bruce Almighty power just so I could make somebody punch themselves in their own mouth. But Ivanka comes on and just comes after Ocasio-Cortez and is like, this Green New Deal, I think in America's hearts, I think in people's hearts, they don't want to just be given something,
Right, so says the girl who was given everything in life. She was given
Your job, your
her
fucking
fortune,
money.
notoriety, everything. She's just handed all this.
You haven't earned shit, lady. And her dad didn't earn it either. He was given it by fucking his dad. And it's just God, how? And Ocasio-Cortez is well, I work for tips, so what? And I'm like, God, I love this woman.
Yeah. Okay, I found it was actually in last week's notes. I just never got around to covering the story. With all the famous lawyers lying for Trump going to prison, we must keep in mind the non-famous ones are also going to prison. Sherry Dillon testified under oath before the OGE with multiple conflicting stories about if or how Trump owed Cohen money. So every single story of hers conflicts with Cohen's plea deal testimony, and Cohen is now considered a somewhat reliable witness, as he's thrown himself on the mercy of the court. So, yeah, she's fucked.
Well, my favorite thing about the whole Cohen deal, right?
And for some reason, I conflated that story with the calamari story. For whatever
everybody's
reason. There's so many Trump associates going to prison. It's hard to keep track of them all.
It is. It's a lot. So the weird thing was, so the only thing they were attacking Cohen on is his credibility, right? He's a liar. Well, he's actually telling you that he was ordered to lie by the president.
Yeah, the Democrats showed up and they had a laundry list of very poignant questions, where the Republicans showed up and they're all like, I printed out this poster that says, liar, liar, pants on fire, your mother told you that. What?
It's real weird because he's admitting that he lied on behalf of the president.
Yeah. And he was asked, so were you ever asked to threaten or intimidate people by Trump directly? Yes. How many times? I can't even begin to. 50 times? More. 100 times? Yeah. More. 250 times? More. 500 times? Maybe.
Yeah. And I heard, and here's the thing, I don't know if Cohen is an American hero or if he's just an asshole.
I think that he's an asshole that got caught, said fuck it, and now he's just going for broke. He's just like, fuck you people, fuck all you people, you did this to me, I'm taking you all down with me, motherfuckers. That's who he is. And he's succeeding, so that's funny.
Yeah, because one of my first times was some news story I was listening to where a guy was talking about he was going to release a story, and he had recorded a phone call from Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen was basically going, if you fucking release this news story, all the fucking things I'm going to do to you are going to be fucking disgusting. We're going to sue the fuck out of you. It's going to be fucking disgusting what we're going to do to you.
What?
And so it's just like,
who? Most of them. All of them?
You can't tell what the bluster is he's just a guy that was his persona, and he was like, this is going to be fucking awesome, and he's like, oh, fuck. Or is he really a guy that goes, man, that was fucked up. Like, I shouldn't have done all that stuff, you know.
I don't think he has a conscience. I think he got caught, and now he's just like, fuck it, everyone's coming down with me. That's who I feel like he is.
If any of our, I don't want to ask, I want to do a poll. I'd love our listeners to contact us on this. If any of our listeners have spent any time in prison or jail recently, there was an article that came out by the son of one of the famous gangsters. I think it was the Gambino crime family, and he comes out and he goes, Cohen better watch his back. You know he's going to jail, and I tell you what, people in jail, they love Trump and they hate a rat. And I go, I don't know. Do people in prison really love Trump?
I don't know, but I still love Ozzy because he just texted back saying, you do still look 15. I'm like, aw, thank you. I told him the story of getting. If any of our listeners aren't aware, I'm 35, but I still get carded for things that require you to be like 17 plus. Because I just bought a game today that had like a 17 plus.
That's because you went on the healthy diet and started sleeping and eating right and quit smoking. And I'm 33 and look like I'm 40 because I'm doing all the wrong things right now.
It's fantastic. I love how I'm basically still walking around a college campus to play Pokemon Go, but people mistake me as like a first-year student. It's like, oh, how are your first-year classes going? Have you found everything okay? Yeah, I'm great. And classes are fantastic.
And for me, people are just like, oh, are you looking for your grandkids?
It's wonderful.
I call it, the name of my autobiography is going to be Finding Flavor in All the Wrong Places.
Oh, the taffy jar! That's where I should have looked. Oh no, they're all stuck together. I'm old.
No, I got to get the fitness thing started again, but it's hard, man. It's hard because it's March. It is bitterly cold. It is like Charles Dickens' novel, cold outside. You know what you mean?
Really? It's fucking hot here.
Because you live in the goddamn South.
The people that are causing all the global warming, and I get to benefit from it before I burn to death in a few years.
Yeah, it's just like, every time I go out just to get in my car or whatever to like go across the street, like I'm just like, I feel like a Charles Dickens like street waif where I'm like, please sir, I'm so cold.
Please sir, may I have some more?
Like I've dodged traffic several times to not have to stand on the street corner and wait for the go light. I'm like, I gotta run or I'm gonna freeze.
Mm-hmm. That sounds awful.
Yeah, it would be bad if there was like nice fluffy snow, but it's just cold, bitter wind, you know.
Yep.
And I'm just eating my way through my misery.
Oh, we didn't talk about all the Christian extremists on campus. Now that I mentioned it, I'm like, oh, they're not going to catch that reference.
Do you have a lot of Christian extremists on your college campus?
A surprising number of them, yes.
Really?
Yeah, we get at least a few every semester, but they're like, when I say extremists, I just mean they do stuff publicly. They do public displays of Christianity. Like, they'll walk around loudly reading out scripture, right? We have one person who sings at the top of his lungs church songs as he walks from one end of campus to the other. It's fun at first, but then it gets annoying whenever he just keeps doing it. And but today I saw like the best thing ever. It was a girl. She was off to the side, not in anyone's way, and she had a sign she had put up saying, "Let me pray for you." And people could just come up and she'll like take their hand and hear what they have to say, and she'll pray for them, and they can be on their way. It seemed really nice.
I think that like if someone was really annoying me with the walking around yelling scripture, I'd go get my copy of like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And be like, it was a little house, a little place under the stairs on Privet Drive. That's where Harry lived. He had a strange lightning bolt scar on his head. And I would just match them like voice for voice until they got mad.
The Dursleys were mean to him. So they went to the zoo and he could hear a snake.
I like how you always slip into Bernie Sanders whenever you're doing anything. And like, he went to the zoo and he saw a snake.
He had to take the public bus because he wasn't a millionaire or a billionaire,
I tell you
so he
what,
couldn't
man.
just take his own private jet.
I tell you what, I'd buy a copy of the audiobook of Harry Potter as narrated by Bernie Sanders. 100% take my money. I'd do it.
Yep. God,
I'm
I
all
can't
over
wait for President Bernie. I'm so on the Bern train now.
Well, I'm just worried that the Republicans are doing the thing they often do when they're just like, hup, hup, buttery football, hup, ho. You guys elected the dead body of Hitler because we fucked up.
I mean, yeah, they probably will do that because at the end of the day, all they want to do is keep their wealthy benefactors happy. So they're going to keep towing that's why they keep trying to say that anything to the left of Stalin is too far left, because they want to make sure that people continue to vote against their own best interests. They want to make sure that medicine costs a fuck ton. That way people have to have insurance to afford anything. Like, the cost of healthcare in America is disgusting. It will ruin your fucking life if you go to the hospital and you don't have insurance. So you have to have it. That is a fucking scam. That is a scheme. But if you don't buy into it, you're fucked if you need it. So what are you supposed to do? Move to another country? That's also that's also prohibitively expensive for most people. You're boned. You're boned every which way you turn, and the only way this will ever end is for us to vote all the fucking Republicans out, get the Democrats in, preferably the quote-unquote far-left Democrats, but they're not really that far left. Most of them are very much in the middle, according to every other country on Earth. It's America that says they're too far. Extreme.
The problem is, and I think the way you diagnose this problem is, as we are fucking things up and as we are messing things up, the world as a whole, I was just reading some statistics, I think worldwide, 9%, the living in like abject poverty level of people has moved from 29% to like 9%, right?
Yeah.
So on average, in the whole world, people have it better than they've ever had before. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't fix any. We shouldn't
It's
stop.
just America that has such fucked up policies of, like, $5 an hour is a good living minimum wage, right? Along with no benefits, you never get any time off. And in fucking Europe, they get a month off every year. That's insane to me. I can't even fathom that. In America, people take pride in going their entire careers without ever taking a sick day. Miss Coleman worked at I was about to say the name of this. I'll just say the name of it. TCHS for like 30, 35, 40 years. Yeah. She never took a day off, ever.
And then didn't she die of like cancer or something? Just like...
died of overworking, probably. Is she dead, though? As far as I know, she's still alive. Oh, that's sad.
Dude, I'm pretty sure she's dead. She had been teaching so long that, like, she had remembered teaching my dad, who is also dead of cancer.
Oh.
But,
that brought the room down.
Well, I mean, I love my dad, but he wasn't what I would call a fun guy.
I didn't think he was a mushroom either.
Well, there's a photo. It's my favorite photo of the family. We're at an amusement park, and this guy was so stiff and unable to loosen up that, you know what he wore to an amusement park? He always wore a button-down shirt, like trousers, and like dress shoes, right?
Right.
Or at the park, he's in a button-down shirt, dress shorts the exact same color as his dress pants, and like black socks and like loafers.
Yeah, that's how my dad dressed everywhere. Like, my dad was always in a suit and a tie wherever we went. My dad never stopped wearing that until he retired. Then he finally started dressing like a hobo, and he just sort of hides out in his shack in the woods, his crazy shack.
Your dad looks like he's about to lead the next revolution, Yeah, or like the next.
It's cool. I say he looks like a hobo with love. What I meant to say is he looks like a murder hobo that lives in a shack in the woods. Like, picture that, and that's basically him.
I think he looks like the guy that's going to read like the next weird Mormon offshoot that stockpiles guns and then gets in a shootout with the FBI.
Yeah.
It's that beard, and it looks like he's a very nice guy, but he looks like he'd be like, Jesus said you should follow me. Let a fire rain down upon the non-believers. You'd be like, oh.
I really want to quote the guy from, what was that game called? With, there's just a crazy cult out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this one lady whose name is also Martha that chases you with a knife. It's pretty cool. And there's this one reverend in it that's just crazy and extreme, and he's like, and that's when the cunt of hell came up and swallowed the city. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that seems like what your dad has the beard. It seems like that would be doing, but he's just like a super nice dude. Point being, my dad could only loosen up from the top of his socks to the top of his knees. That was party time. Everything else buttoned down. No fun. Like, good lord.
God, I keep. Okay, this is really bothering me now. It's not Evil Dead. That was a movie.
I don't. I will tell you this.
Not Walking Dead.
I don't think that the listeners are sitting on edge, like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna figure it out.
I think that they are. Wesley, tell him that he's wrong right now. In Facebook in the future, if y'all like, you're wrong, Peter. I was very much looking forward to it, and I was about to Google it, and then you interrupted him. Ho ha.
So to add on to this, by the way, so that kid, Otto Warmbier. So this guy.
Is that a Harry Potter character?
No, he was a
Ottoman
guy.
Wormtongue?
He was a guy that was snatched up in North Korea for something minor, anyway.
Oh yeah, and Trump's taken the freaking terrorist side on this too.
Yeah, they tortured him in prison before finally turning him back over. Then he died, and he had a whole bunch of like scars and stuff like that. Apparently, Trump came on and was just like, "Yeah, I talked to Kim," and Kim said, "Yeah, I didn't know anything about that." And he goes, "No, I believe him." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure, why not? Why not take the word
terrorist side over American intelligence and the dead body and the fact that it's fucking impossible that he didn't? Yeah, why not?"
You know, like in that movie where they made fun of Kim Jong, where they were talking about the guy playing Kim Jong. He's like, he just honey-dicked you. Yeah, it's weird watching our own president get honey-dicked.
Yeah, that happens to him a lot. Oh, the interview. That was the name of the movie, right?
Yeah, the interview. Yep. The Cohen thing was the big thing. It didn't really tell us a lot, except he has corroborating evidence for all the stuff he talked about. And then there was beautiful, gorgeous Mark Meadows, representative from South Carolina, I believe, who flipped out when Rashida Tlaib insinuated that he might be racist.
Oh, it's Outlast 2. That's the name of the game. I've been Googling it. What were you talking about?
Oh, my God. I'm going to kill you and this podcast.
No, I saw it. I saw that. That was just a joke. Yeah, and they paraded his black friend out. To say,
yeah, they brought basically...
I'm a black friend.
Yeah, Trump has a black friend. How could he be racist? And Rashida Tlaib was just like... Well, you know, the idea of trotting out a black person to pretend that you're not racist is in itself racist. And Mark Meadows got all red and was just like, I have black friends. You know, he was all like...
He has a black niece. How could I be racist? Yeah, that means your brother might not be racist. That doesn't mean you're not.
That doesn't mean
you have black people in your family.
You can be racist.
Can still be.
Look, here's the thing about racist. You can be... It goes so many directions. You can be white and racist towards black people. You can be black and racist towards black people. You can have black friends and be racist toward. You can marry a black person and still be racist toward. You can be white and racist towards white people. Like, it goes any direction you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Jefferson had black children, but I'm pretty sure he would be considered extremely racist in today's world because I'm pretty sure the 14-year-old he was boning down with didn't give consent.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The history looks like to be like, and Thomas Jefferson...
named Sally, by the way.
Yeah, married... Was it Sally? What was her last name?
Oh, I don't know. She probably didn't have a last name.
I'm pretty sure she did. It was Sally Hems or something like that. Anyway, point being, people are like, oh, Thomas Jefferson married a black woman, and I go, well, I would be careful. I would be careful using the word married to someone that you owned.
Yeah.
I want to know her name now. Sally Hemings. I was right. It was Sally Hemings, yeah.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Yep. So, yeah, can you really give consent if your slave owner's like, I'd like to marry you?
Did he marry her, though? I thought
and he married her and never freed her.
Huh. Okay, then.
That's pretty telling right there.
But he is still very much a racist, right? And by today's standards, I don't know what those weird standards back then they had were, but by everything we know today, yeah, it's pretty fucking racist to own people.
Even as much as I love Lincoln, by our standards today, Lincoln would have been a racist.
Yes, he was extreme. He did a lot for black people, but at the same time, he was extremely racist.
I think it was.
But I mean, that's to be fair. He never had a chance to be taught any better, but. You know, whatever.
Well,
it's
I always think of
can
Lincoln
of red wasps to try and defend people back then.
I always think of Lincoln by this one saying, which I really like, and I like to think he applied it to everyone, where he said, "In America, every man has the right to rise as far as talent and ability will allow."
Well, talent, ability, and the misfortune of where they were born.
But the point is, like,
I mean, do you think Ivanka is where her talent brought her, or do you think that she's where her daddy gave her?
I don't think she has talent or ability.
She doesn't.
Unless you say that she is a talented asshole and the ability to be a complete piece of human garbage. Yeah, sure. and she's risen pretty far in that respect.
She is very high level.
She would be top of the trash heap,
Mm-hmm.
king of the garbage. It just, man, just the fucking disconnect of a rich person being like, I don't think poor people want to be given things. I think they want to work in the factories. Like, man, fucking, if I could put you in a time machine, I'd program it back to during the French Revolution. So long, asshole.
Yeah, I don't think that she really wants to work to get away from those guillotines. I think she wants to hurl herself straight towards it.
Fucking asshole. Yeah, just, it's just like we talked last time about that fucking asshole from Starbucks. Like, I don't like being called a billionaire. It's a dirty word. I'm being called a person of means. I'm like, you're an asshole, and if you don't want to be rich, then don't be rich.
Yeah. I mean, if you can just give away money and it solves your problem, then that's not really a real problem. If you can give away enough money to buy like multiple islands with their own tiny lakes and islands within those lakes, and that in itself has like a pond big enough to hold a big yacht, you're not really having problems.
It's funny right now. So I pull up Fox News to pull up some of the crazy shit's going on, and it's got the little Fox News video thing to the side while we're talking, and there was just a video of Tucker Carlson going on about how MS-13 is planning to target off-duty cops. And I feel bad, but all I could think was, well, at least somebody's keeping the police in check. It's terrible. It's awful. They're a violent, vicious gang. And also, so is MS-13.
Yep. Speaking of violent, vicious gangs, John Kelly came forward to note that Trump ordered him to give Kushner security clearance.
Good.
So that's yet another crime that Trump's being accused of by a credible source.
Well, I mean, like, we already knew that, like, Kushner was compromised. Also,
in people being held accountable news, though, Benjamin Netanyahu is being indicted by his own attorney general, though.
What a piece of shit that is. So, like, he's one of those guys that has been fighting super hard. If you don't know who Netanyahu is he still the prime minister of Israel?
Yeah, he still is.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's like, no peace at all, crush the Palestinians, and it's just like, now he's being indicted on like fraud and bribery and all this other stuff. And
he's someone that always got along very well with the Trump administration, by the way. And now we know why, because he's also a criminal.
Yeah, because fucking Trump was sucking his dick. He was sucking his own breadsticks!
Yeah. Progress has been made on Trump's wall, though. Do you want to hear how that's going?
So all right, so my favorite part about that was, so they were tearing down the prototypes, right?
Right.
Because it's like they're done. They're done with them, right? You tear them down when you're done. And the comment section of people, I guess, that don't read the article, they just read the headline, are screaming because they think that we're tearing down the wall. Like they think the wall, I guess, has been built, and that we're tearing it down now, and they're just like, no, this is all I wanted.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Dude, read a book.
In a week or so, the 8 different I guess it's already happening now. The 8 different prototype walls are all coming down because all 8 of them failed inspections.
Yeah.
So, in other words, negative miles of wall have been built.
We have less than when we started. I mean, it's fine. It's just like, look, like, I've never had an issue with, like, well, I take it back. I do have an issue with border security. I take the stance that borders are for cowards. Come at me, man.
Yeah, I mean,
as a man who for many years left his doors unlocked, borders are for cowards.
Well, I mean, in all the years that I've left my door locked, do you know how many times I've heard someone go and try to get in? Never. It's never happened.
Well, knowing the neighborhood you live in, I'm like 5, 10, 200, 250, 500. More than 500?
Maybe.
Because your apartment was the place we made popcorn and stood on your porch and watched a fat, sweaty redneck yell at a skinny, shirtless redneck to come fight him, but neither one of them wanted to go up or down the stairs, and it just went on for like an hour.
That was amazing.
That was great, yeah. Best movie I've ever seen.
He was very drunk. But yes, like, weird stuff happens around here, but people don't just, like, try to get into people's places unless they know the person.
Well, I mean, like I said, there are ways to reduce them. There are ways to reduce illegal immigration, and we know what those are. But none of them, again, it all comes down to like what's really great is to have a short story, beginning, middle, and end, have it fit into a soundbite, and like that's digestible to people. It's like fast food. it's a lot
Speaking of
harder.
Bernie Sanders, though, he does have a plan to reduce the cost of medicine in America, because in every other country on earth, the government negotiates and haggles with pharmacists to force them to reduce the prices. We don't have that in the U.S. because they are the wealthy benefactors of the Republicans, and the Republicans have had absolute power for far too long.
Yeah.
So the cost to the American people is just swollen out of control. Bernie is actually going to, put the brakes on that. He is actually going to help us on that. Like I said, he's really been winning me over a lot lately, and I'm glad that a lot of the people running are adopting his ideas. I'm glad that his ideas are popular because they should be. Like every
That's
other
why I
country on
said,
earth does this.
even if
Every
he
other
doesn't,
developed first world country, I should clarify.
even if he doesn't win, he pushes everyone to the left, which is where we need to go. Speaking of which, to the left, Ocasio-Cortez has this Green New Deal, and they are just like, they're going nuts over there. Oh, I want to take away your hamburgers.
If anyone doesn't know, the Green New Deal is, it was originally just going to be a bill for reducing carbon emissions so that we don't all fucking die in 10 years.
Yeah.
But she added onto that stuff from the Second Bill of Rights, like the guarantee of a job to everyone. Everyone is guaranteed a job and a decent wage and
the thing we're going to have to address,
living.
the thing we're going to have to address, like this thing I read said that the new problem coming up is we have the ability with technology, production of stuff is way, way up, right? But it's going to continue to impact jobs as we're able to more quickly automate and make things.
Right, that's why a basic income needs to be a thing already.
So the problem is, how do we add more equity into a society where a traditional job may no longer exist, or exists at extremely reduced levels? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing about
pay the robots, then tax the robots 100%.
Right, and then give us the robots money. But the point is people are like, socialism, never have socialism in the United States.
We've always had socialism.
It's here, buddy. It's been here, brother. And it's
those roads you paved on, you didn't pave that yourself. Society did. You know what taxes go to? Paying for stuff for society. And because you were part of a society, we're all having to agree on what this pot of money is going to be paying for. You want endless wars to kill people. You want guns to kill people. We want healthcare to help people. We want school to educate people.
Here's
right?
what I say.
We gotta look. Here's the thing that really pisses me off is that Republicans get everything already.
Yeah.
Democrats get nothing.
I'm a fair
we don't
guy.
have healthcare.
Look,
we don't have free education. We don't have anything. Republicans, they have their endless wars. They have their guns.
Yeah, let's completely deregulate guns. And all right, so anybody can get a gun from anywhere, anytime. Okay. Well, then what happens is we also all get single payer health care, and there's a single payer option for higher education.
What we should do is put vending machines with guns in them for like $1.50, where children can get to them. Because don't worry if a kid just buys a gun in a vending machine, because guns don't kill people, right, Peter? We've discussed that before. People do. So if you just start handing guns to children, nothing bad could possibly happen.
A determined toddler will find a way to hurt you, whether he shoots you or pulls your hair or ruins your favorite makeup. A determined toddler will find a way.
Part of me kind of agrees with Penn Jillette to just say, fuck it. Yeah, guns are completely legal at all times, always. Also, drugs. Every single drug. That's the other thing. They're all legal.
You want guns, then drugs, healthcare, and college. Boom.
I don't mean just like the fun drugs like LSD and cocaine. I mean all of them. I mean crack and meth and heroin, all legal, perfectly legal.
Yeah, because here's the thing: because society's gonna break down anyway. There's a bunch of studies that are saying we're actually gonna see the end of society as we know it in like under 50 years. Like it's coming quicker than anybody thinks. So if we're gonna do that, we're in the end of it. Let's have a little fun with it, man.
Yeah.
Let's try some crazy shit and see what happens. We don't have another 200 years in us. Let's just kind of fuck her. If we're not going to fix it, let's fuck around. It's like if you've ever had like a shitty car and you know it's about to like go out and you're just like, how can I abuse this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, or if you've ever been in a hotel room that you just disrespected.
The hotel I can relate to. The car thing, I'd be like, well, it might fucking swerve off the road while I'm in it, so maybe I shouldn't. If
you've had someone else paying for a hotel room and you go, we're gonna fuck this place up, like, fuck it, man. We're coming to the end. Let's have some fun. Let's go out with a bang and some heroin.
Have you ever seen Seeking a Friend for the End of the World? Like,
No.
I think that would be like a good model for society, wouldn't it? I mean, it's
Like,
total anarchy, and it's anarchy from people who know it doesn't matter if they accidentally kill themselves, but, fuck it.
I do really love that meme where someone goes, when I read Superman when I was growing up, I was like, how do the people of Krypton not believe the planet's going to go up? Me in 2019. Oh.
It's fake news, folks.
Yeah, because you're like, how could you be so stupid? Your planet's going to grow up and blow up, and this guy's trying to tell you. And now we're like, the planet's going to not support life, and people are like, psh, you're a liar. So my point is, really, there's a fire truck outside my house. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not been listening to us since the beginning, I used to live, I guess, near a fire station, and we were constantly interrupted by fire trucks. I've since moved across Brooklyn, have a better place, better insulation, and apparently it seems like, in the words of Doc Brown, I don't know when, I don't know how, but they found me, Marty. Firemen show up and shoot
Marty,
the whole
your
bunch.
kids!
What is it, Doc Brown?
Your daughter's gonna marry a black man!
I'm actually okay with that.
Aw.
You are?
Yeah, I don't think you should be around here anymore, Doc.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, man.
That was a Family Guy joke. If anyone, yeah.
Oh, you bring up a good point. Speaking of internet news and memes and stuff, I saw a great one the other day. This douchebag used to go to high school posted it, and it said, how can a generation that was raised on Family Guy and South Park be so sensitive now? And I saw a response.
It's because we're not talking about the words people do. It's the actions people do and how...
Right, I saw a response to that goes, yeah, we're not offended by dick and fart jokes. We get offended when people aren't treated like human beings.
Exactly.
And I go, yeah, also, I was talking to a friend about it, and my friend, she goes, South Park was actually really politically aware in a lot of their episodes. And I go, yeah, that's the thing. People were like, oh, it's just shock humor. I go, no, actually, if you've ever watched South Park, they tackle a lot of really complex issues.
They do. They really do.
Yeah. So.
I mean, and some of the stuff they used to tackle back in the 90s was stuff that would have been extremely shocking then, and like just self-evident today because of how far we've come. But one of the first episodes, like the big moral is when Stan went out before the football field and he addressed all the parents out in the audience. He's like, and Mom and Dad, it's okay to be gay. And everyone's like, oh! It was back then.
It's weird that in our lifetime, people were like, they let the states vote on it. The states were like, no gays. And then the federal government was like, you can be gay.
It's just insane to me looking back on that episode. It's An Elephant Fucks a Pig. That episode, that one, that was the first one with Big Gay Al in it, and the whole point of it was that it's fine to be gay. It's not wrong, right? But back then, that was super edgy because, I mean, it was edgy just to acknowledge gay people existed or even reference it, let alone say, oh, no, it's perfectly fine. And nowadays, the liberal left wings want to treat them like humans, too. What's up with that?
Well, I mean, it's one of those weird things I don't understand because... If I don't know, like, why would I? Because I always flip it on myself. I go, what if we lived in a world where the norm was being gay, and I was like, I love a woman, and people were like, that's wrong, you're going to hell. How would I feel?
I mean, I would feel like they're assholes.
Yeah, like, so. Also, and this is gonna sound weird, and this might come out offensive. I want to throw this out there.
If it's offensive, I'll either edit it out or just loop it, so it sounds like you're really into it.
You say it over and over. So, here's the thing: as a weird kid in school, I'm not saying that I understand the pressure and how tough it is to be gay in this world, especially growing up in the 80s or 90s. But in school, as kind of a weird kid, I was called gay a lot, and I don't mean a friendly way.
Yeah, I know, that was everyone's favorite insult.
Yeah, and they really meant it with hate. And so
back then yes, they really, really hated gay people that much, but that was sort of like a given that you're supposed to hate gay people this much. But then also they're like, no, I hate you this much. So
I think it was
that's what they're saying.
Well, I think it was because a lot of them were grappling with their own feelings, maybe towards me. And so,
I want to put it in you so bad.
So what's the best way that you deflect from you possibly being gay? You just find someone that's weird and go, he's gay. And yeah, so I'm not saying that I understand the struggle, but I am saying, as someone who was picked on a lot by jocks who were probably gay for being gay, I didn't like the little taste of it I got, so I can't imagine being okay doing it to someone else.
I imagine that, but also you feel ashamed because, but it's true. And so you go
Imagine,
home and
imagine,
everything sucks.
imagine that, but everywhere.
Now picture that, but everywhere.
Yeah, I talked to my students one time about I remember something happened and I had to stop whatever we were doing and I go, hey, like, I go, you can't. I said, being gay is not something you can catch. It's not like the cold. I'm like, either you are or you aren't. Like, it's something it's a preference you're born with. Like, it's like being born black or white. You don't have any choice in it. So, I said, just get over it. I said, some people are gay, some people aren't, and that's life. And one of them was like, no, it's a choice. I go, I did use I go, do you remember the time that you decided that you were straight? No. And I go, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you don't choose your sexual orientation, and anybody that tells you you do is an asshole, because in a world where you could be literally beaten to death for being gay, why would you choose that?